So, in 1948, Akira Ifukube scored a little comedy movie called The President and a Female Clerk, or The President and the Shopgirl. Beyond the title, I don't really know much about the movie as a whole, but I can tell you that it has a very interesting title theme. What do I mean by that? Well, listen to it for yourself.
Oh!
Before we start, I first need to add something I said about one of Ifukube's soundtracks in a previous video. Shout out to Shadowkiller666 for calling these new pieces of trivia to my attention. Apparently, Ifukube's Frankenstein theme from Frankenstein vs. Baragon did not receive its genesis from that scene in Mothra vs. Godzilla, as I originally thought. In fact, it was actually sampled from the 1963 film Bronze Magician. I really need to broaden my experience with Akira Ifukube's filmography, as I seem to be more familiar with his work on tokusatsu, a subgenre I grew up on. It is so easy to forget that his work on tokusatsu was only minute in comparison to his full filmography, which spanned across multiple genres, not just the ones involving kaiju and seijin. And it was there that some of his work in those films later evolved into the themes he had composed for various monsters and aliens, or the military attacking them. And so, I want this new entry in my playlist to be a dedication to that fact about the legendary maestro. The theme for The Great Wall later became the military march for Ghidorah. A sample in the middle of the Great Wall was also a modified form of Varan's attack theme. Which later became the King Kong vs. Godzilla march. On a side note, the movie was directed by Shigeo Tanaka, who would later go on to direct Gamera vs. Baragon. The Self-Defense Force's pursuit of Rodan would later be recreated 35 years later for a scene in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. It almost sounds like an exact duplicate. If I remember correctly, and don't quote me on this because I could be wrong, Ifukube was given this scene from the movie at the last minute. So to compromise, he had to sift through an audio library to find an old track of his that could be worked into the scene. No wonder the music sounds so similar to the original fact. Putting that aside, there's more to this little motif than I originally thought. Though the version heard in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah is a recreation of the one from Rodan, it did not originate from Rodan. Turns out, it was originally the main title theme for the 1947 movie Snow Trail, which was also Akira Ifukube's debut in the film industry. A sample of this track was later used in Godzilla. Listen carefully to the notes playing in the background. The following year, Ifukube recreated the score for The Maid's Kid. It also appeared in a scene in Godzilla vs. Destroyer. The main title theme from The Three Faces was the origin for the magnificence of the bass and ending motif from Battle in Outer Space. Part of the track that played during Rodan's final scene would be reworked in various ways in a variety of later films. It showed up again once or twice in 1962's The Whale God, Frankenstein's theme from 1965's Frankenstein vs. Baragon, the Gargantuas theme from 1966's The War of the Gargantuas, Mechani-Kong from 1967's King Kong Escapes, and Godzilla's Meltdown in 1995's Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Speaking of the whale god, listen closely to this music that plays during the movie's opening. Maybe it's just me, but I swear that part of the motif sounds a lot like the Requiem from the War of the Gargantuas. Lastly, I found at least one more use of Operation Burial after its debut in King Kong vs. Godzilla. Turns out, it also appeared in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. And I think that's enough for this video. Another thank you to the users who pointed most of these out to me. If you or anyone else can think of any other works that Mr. Ifukube created and refurbished for later projects, feel free to shout them out, and I'll add them in a later video. Plus a shout out for your generosity in helping me out. During my making of this video, I just so happened to uncover a few more recycled compositions here and there, all from old movies I'd never even heard of before now. I didn't include all of them here because 1, this video might have gotten a little longer than it needed to, and 2, I'm still gathering more info on them. Some of these movies don't even have a wiki page. Worse, most of these movies go under a different name outside of Japan. This makes it doubly hard to track them down. Needless to say, I definitely left out some things I wanted to talk about, including certain music numbers I talked about in previous videos, which just so happened to be heard in other old films composed by Mr. Ifukube. War movies, period pieces, you name it. As soon as I track them down, study the compositions, and record them, I'll be sure to add them in future videos. And trust me when I say, there are plenty of them to go around. Before we close, there's just one last thing I want to add. I can imagine that a lot of you are wondering the exact same thing. Why did Akira Ifukube make such a habit out of taking music he created for one movie and then recycling it for his work on a later movie? Was he just too lazy to come up with something more original? Guys, this intelligent, hard-working man from Hokkaido was a lot of things, but I can assure you that lazy was not one of them. When Mr. Ifukube was brought on board to create a full soundtrack for an 80, 90, or 100-minute long picture, the time he was given to work with was almost always extremely short. Exactly how short was his schedule? Well, as he told David Milner, he was typically given only 3 to 4 days to write an entire score for a movie. 3 to 4 days. Can you imagine that? The time he was given to orchestrate and record the actual soundtrack was barely any longer than the time he was given to write the music. Working under such a tight schedule, you can imagine how stressful it was for him to create a movie score. He loved his job, but even he had to admit that working with that limited schedule was very frustrating. So, naturally, to help speed up the process, and perhaps also to help him stay calm during the task, I imagine, he was forced to take shortcuts by using and refurbishing some of his earlier motifs. What else could he do otherwise? So please, don't ever think of Mr. Ifukube as someone who couldn't come up with something more original sounding because he wasn't devoted enough to his craft or whatever. He was a man doing the best he could with the time he was given. Nothing more, nothing less.